This is Sean Rio and I'm back, and today I'm going to be talking about electronics, different types of charging options, as well as ways to keep your devices charged while you're backpacking or out on the trail. Stay with me. Okay, so as I said earlier, what I'm going to be doing is going over electronics that I actually carry when I'm backpacking, as well as different ways of charging those devices, as well as the kind of cables and things like that that I use. So what I'm going to first off cover is the specific ways that I actually charge my devices, and it's using a battery pack or a power bank. So what I'll do is, in case nobody knows what one of these are, I think most people do, but I'll just kind of give you a quick rundown. This is an example of one. This one's made by Anchor. Way it works is that you charge this up. It's got an internal battery, and that internal battery is what's used for charging your other devices. And what you would do is you would take a micro USB cable and plug it into here, and then use this end and plug it into your device. And once you do that, there's a power button on most of these. You press this button, and once you press that button, then it starts charging your device. So I'm not going to get into specifics about this actual device. I just want to let you know that there are options as far as carrying different types of battery packs or power banks, and those things can be used for charging your devices. Here's a couple of different ones that I have, and I'll tell you. I had this one. This one doesn't hold much of a charge, maybe for like a flip phone or something like that, something that's not going to be using a lot of power. This might help you get by. It's got a micro USB cable attached to it. Not something that I use anymore. This one is just another power bank. The cool thing about it is it does actually have a flashlight on it. So if you hold this button down, I won't do it, but if you hold it down, this flashlight cuts on. So the cool advantage of this is that you have another flashlight in the event that you need one. I don't really use this at all, which brings me to this one. This is a company called Easy ACC, let's see if I can tell you the milliamps on this one. This one's got a 7,000 milliamp battery capacity. So for most smartphones, you can probably get about 2 charges. But when you see the difference between the size and weight comparison between this and some of the other options, I really used this a couple of times and then realized, this isn't. I wanted something lighter, but also that could hold a little bit more in terms of battery capacity. So this is one of my favorite options for shorter trips. This one's made by RavPower. Let me see if I can get in focus. But this one right here is actually a 8,400 milliamp battery. So for most devices, you can probably get about 2.5 to 3 charges on it. And I'm going to give you a quick weight comparison. That one weighs 5.7 ounces. This other one, which has less power, weighs 5.6. So for 0.1 ounce, I'm able to get, like I said, roughly another 1,400 milliamps out of this one. So this one weighs less, has more power. This does also have a flashlight. So for shorter trips, this is actually my go-to battery pack. I used to use this one, but I can't justify the weight on it, as well as what you get. It's a 10,400 400 milliamp battery pack. Just kind of give you a weight on that one. That one comes in at 7.3 ounces. So personally, if I have to choose between the two of these, I prefer to go with this one. And then for longer trips, I like to use this one. This one is 13,000 milliamps, and the weight on this one is 9.2 ounces. So me personally, like I said, for shorter trips, I like this one. For longer trips, I like this one, and these have worked very well for me. I have no complaints. This one also does have a flashlight on it too. So another perk to this is you know, if your battery, your headlamp goes dead or anything like that, and you don't have a way of charging it or replacing the batteries, you have a spare flashlight that's built into this. So that's as far as charging options. Things that I normally carry as far as electronic devices are concerned. I normally carry an iPod. This is not the cell phone that I normally use. I'm just using this to represent a cell phone. And a cool trick to remember is that if you use cell phones, put it in airplane mode. What that does is it prevents you from being able to use any type of signal, or because if you have a smartphone, even when you're not on that smartphone, it's sending signals to the different applications that are running to try and upload and download information, which is going to end up using your battery. And if you're in places where there's not a strong connection, it's going to make your phone have to work a little bit harder, and it's going to constantly be sending and receiving signals, so it's going to burn your battery up a lot quicker. So one of the things I just highly recommend is if you don't need to make a lot of phone calls and things like that, definitely put your phone in airplane mode. It'll definitely keep the battery life a lot longer and keep your phone charged up for a lot longer, so that you can use options like this and not have to burn through them as quickly. Because you know, something like this, I can get through 7 or 8 days at least keeping my cell phone charged if I put it in airplane mode. Now, you know, iPod is just one of those luxury items I like to carry. I just like to listen to music when I'm backpacking, so that's just another thing that I carry. And then another thing is a headlamp. Now, I know there's a lot of different headlamp options out there. I have a Petzl and I have the battery pack for that one. I also prefer this one though, because this one's got a higher lumen count on it. This is an older model. I think it's about 110 and it's called a Black Diamond Revolt. But what you can actually do is, and I'll show you, you have to use Black Diamond's batteries in this, but this is a rechargeable headlamp. So the cool thing is that you can actually recharge this using one of your power banks or backup battery pack. So if this thing ends up going dead, you can still recharge your headlamp. The way that you actually do it is there's a little tab right here. You pull it up and you hook your micro USB cable up to it. So good thing about this is you don't have to worry about constantly replacing your battery, especially for longer trips. And you got a way of being able to recharge it. Now, one of the things I will say is that I do always carry at least, you know, one set of spare batteries just in case, because you just never know. It's always better to have, you know, the extra batteries just in case versus just relying on these batteries that come in here that can be recharged. So just a recommendation. The way that I actually charge my device is, let me show you. I've got a couple of different charging cables. This is one that I just randomly saw at Walmart, and I picked it up because of the fact that it's small. It's also bendable, and it's got a thick piece right here, which means there's less likelihood of this thing breaking. So when you're in a situation where you're only carrying one charging cable, you definitely want to make sure it's going to be something that's not going to fall apart on you. But the disadvantage to using this is that when you go into town to resupply or something like that, and this is plugged into a wall, it doesn't give you much room in terms of you have to have your device propped up, or you have to have it somewhere where something's lifting it up so it doesn't fall over. So that's one option, or another option is just a smaller USB cable, something that's not as long as a traditional one. That way, you know, it takes up less space and it also weighs less. And I also carry one of these, just a charging plug, so that way you can just plug it into here and use that to charge your devices, especially for when you're in town and you're resupplying or anything like that. You're definitely going to want something that you can plug into the wall and charge your devices on. I made a mistake one time of thinking that I could just run everything off of a power bank on a longer trip, and I wish I had brought one of these, and this is actually a pretty small one. So that's what I do. And what you do is you actually plug it into your power bank like this, plug it in a wall, and that's how you would charge this up. And one of the things I've actually been considering doing is you can buy these, and it's got 2 USB ports. That way when I'm actually in town or something like that, I can plug 2 USB cables in here. That way I can charge multiple devices, only have to rely on one of these versus trying to carry 2 of these. So that's just one option. Another thing to say is, I don't know if you're aware of these, but this is what I use for charging my my iPod. And for those of you guys that use iPhones, you can use it for your iPhone as well, especially if you're trying to use a micro USB cable to charge your power bank or if you're trying to use it to charge other devices, like for instance my headlamp, which uses a micro USB cable. That makes it so I only have to carry one cable. I carry this cable, and the way that it works is that this has an adapter that plugs in like this, and so you can charge your iPod devices that use lightning, I think it's called a lightning USB cable or lightning cable. And so I'll show you how that works. This just plugs into here, and you're able to charge your iPod. So instead of having to carry two cables, it's a way of just being able to reduce it to carrying one in this little adapter. And just one random thing in case you're watching this and you're not familiar. This is a great little product that you can carry. I carry it with my electronics. It's called a stick pick. The way it works is you get an attachment, so you can actually attach your camera to it. And you slide this on your trekking pole, and it makes it so that way you can actually do selfies or record things while you're walking around and things like that. So if you don't have a stick pick, something I'd highly recommend. So last thing I'm going to do is just tell you how I carry everything, as well as give you a final weight on it. This is what's called a lop sack. The way it works is this is a waterproof bag. It's a little more rugged and durable than using like a Ziploc bag or something like that. But this is what I normally carry all my electronic cables and things like that. So as I mentioned, I always carry at least one set of spare batteries. So those go in there. Here's a little adapter for my iPod that I put in there. In addition to that, here's charging cable, or one of the ones that I use, and it's a small one like I mentioned earlier. And here's a little adapter that I use to plug in a wall, so that way I can charge things using my cable. So if you look at it, this really kind of fits into a small package. I mean, all that fits in there, versus having a big mess of cables and things like that. And it's in a waterproof container. And let me give you a weight on this. It's not wanting to give me a weight. Okay, so that comes in at 2.4 ounces. And I'll just use this for example, and I'll show you the other one. This is, like I said, one of the ones that I use for shorter trips, or a backup battery pack. That comes in at 5.7 ounces. So with my charging cables, extra battery and everything, as well as that, we're looking at 8.2 ounces, which is roughly half a pound. Or if I decide to go with the Anchor, which is a bigger one, as I mentioned, that comes in at 9.2 ounces. We add all that extra stuff, and we're now looking at 11.7 ounces. So like I said, just options and different ways of being able to charge your devices. I hope this helped you. If it did, please hit the like button below. As always, like, share, and subscribe. This is Sean Ryu. Thank you for watching.
Moving like the speed of sound.